Hey, what's up guys? Rago here from Matt Kite, and welcome back to our Unhooked playlist. So if you've been following the channel for the last couple of weeks, you know that we're working on a new playlist that kind of breaks down all of the fundamental moves that you need to know to get into unhooked riding. And with kiteboarding being so advanced these days, it can seem kind of intimidating to get into this side of the sport, and a lot of people tend to think that it's dangerous, but the truth is, if you start with the basics and you work your way up, it's actually very safe and easy. So this week we're going to cover the surface pass, and what this is maybe one of the best moves you could possibly learn for yourself, and it's going to teach you so many things. So the biggest fear with unhooked riding is catching that back edge, and if you learn how to properly do a surface pass, pass the bar, and work on this, you're going to get really comfortable later on when you do start attempting to spin in the air, whether you're trying like a blind judge, a rally to blind, a 3-1-3, a rally to wrapped, or if you get really advanced and start going into KGBs or something like that, this is where you want to start. And the funny thing about this trick is I'm actually amazed at how many people just skip right over surface passes and go right into trying to do a pop to blind, a rally to blind, a rally to wrapped. And what happens is you're going to get beat up if you don't have the muscle memory dialed for the surface pass. And it teaches you so many things. You learn how to pass the bar, you learn the correct placement, you learn how to fly the kite with one hand behind your back, you learn how to position your toes so that you don't catch an edge. And it's actually really useful because you're going to find that when you do get to that next level and you're attempting some of those harder tricks, you're going to know how to prevent that edge catch. As well, you're probably going to land things more often than not. So if you can really get this dialed and work your way step by step through all the drills that we're going to teach you in this series, you'll be amazed at how much faster you progress. So with all that said, let's get to it. Alright guys, like all of our videos, if you click that eye icon, you can download a free PDF breaking down this trick and this drill step by step for your phone. And you can take that to the beach with you and give it a review before your next session. And as well, I made a point to write all of this out in a written blog so you can read through everything that you need to know and learn more about this trick. So give that a click and check out the blog after you finish this video. So let's start with the prerequisites of the surface pass. And again, this is a fundamental move, so really you just need to know how to unhook from the kite, and then from there, if you can ride toe side and you can ride upwind, you're definitely ready to give this a try. And one of my favorite things about this drill is you can learn this in very, very light wind. So I recommend that you get in the habit of when you're sessioning and the wind starts coming down and you don't really have power to jump or do anything else, just finish your session off doing like 10 to 20 surface passes, and you'll be amazed as session to session how much more you progress and how much more natural the passing of the bar feels. And before you know it, this is going to be a very, very natural move for you. And as well, my other recommendation is treating this like deliberate practice. And if you don't know what that is, basically the idea is you focus on one movement pattern, and you try it over and over, and when you fail, you think about what you did wrong and you try it again. And considering this is a very low consequence move, if you do fall, you just let go of the bar and fall over. You're riding at the kite. You don't have to go very fast. You can really get the fundamentals down for handle passes later on, and this really does feel similar to what a blind judge would feel like, or a rally to blind. All the different things that you're doing with your body are going to feel the same. So treat this like a drill and practice it over and over, and just make a point to do at least 10 to 20 attempts and do it both ways. So learn how to do a surface pass to blind and also learn how to do a surface pass to wrap. And usually the blind rotation feels a little bit more natural as you're moving with your kite, but once you get used to kind of riding wrapped where you're back around on your heel side with the bar behind you, you're really going to open up a lot of different moves for you, and the more time you spend in these positions, the more natural it's going to be landing as well. When you think back to your first time kiteboarding, for example, riding toe side probably felt very weird, and if you spent, 15 sessions riding toe side, all of a sudden you started trying to jump and land toe side and that felt very natural for you. And that's the same idea here. You want to make landing blind, landing wrapped, riding blind and wrapped become very, very natural. And the best way to do that is to spend a ton of time doing it in a low consequence environment. So treat this like deliberate practice and put the work in doing this drill. So this might be the easiest drill on our playlist, and we're going to break it down into 3 steps for you. So with your kite at 45, remove your harness pin and then ride downwind with a slight edge. You're going to unhook from the kite and take your back hand off. And now while you're riding downwind, a couple things are going to happen at the same time. You're going to pull hard to your lead hip. The closer you can get that bar to your hip, the better. And as you're doing this, you're going to start to look over your back shoulder. Make sure you bring your front arm and the control bar around your back. Spin the bar so that the back of your hand touches the small of your back, and you don't want to let the bar get away from you. Now, at the same time, pay attention to the edge of your board. So as you start to spin, shift your weight from your heels to your toes. Your weight should be on your toe side edge, the kite should be behind you, and the back of your hand should be tucked into the small of your back. And what that will do is actually twist the bar around so you can make the pass. Now, keep looking over your shoulder and pass that bar to your other hand. As you spin around, you want to shift your weight back from your toes to your heels, and you can swing your hips towards the kite as you do this. After you complete the rotation, hook back in and start to edge upwind. So to do a surface pass, you're going to ride downwind and unhook from the kite, keeping a mild edge with just a little bit of line tension. Keep that bar close to your hip and start to ride at the kite. And as always, it's good to split the bar with your lead hand with your index and middle finger. Now as you're riding at the kite, you're going to want to look over your back shoulder. What will happen is your body and board are going to spin, and you're going to shift the weight as you spin from your heel side edge to your toe side edge. And at the same time, you're going to take this hand and you're going to twist it upside down into the small of your back. You're going to shift your weight from your heels to your toes, and at the same time, keep that bar close, and then take the top of your hand and get it into the small of your back, just like this. And what this is going to do is it's going to twist the bar around so you can pass. And just like that, now the kite's still flying normally, and the idea here is to get that movement pattern down. So spin, make contact, and pass. And now the kite is flying normally. You can see that the red is still on the left here. And something else that you can practice is once you make the rotation, before you make that pass, try just riding toe side for a while. And what this is going to do is it's going to help you get used to riding blind. And while riding blind might seem intimidating, you're actually just riding toe side with the control bar behind your back. So as you spin around, this is a great way to get into the position. And then before you make that pass, just spend some time riding and get comfortable with it. Get used to feeling the kite, get used to controlling your edge, and then you can take this longer and longer each time you try, and then make that pass and ride it out. So for step 2, I really recommend that you try this in both directions. And you want to be able to pass to blind and pass to wrapped on your left hand tack and your right hand tack. It's a good habit to start right now, just learning how to do things both ways. And with this being one of the easiest tricks that you can do, you're really going to open a lot of doors for yourself later when you get used to doing this both ways. So I recommend you start learning this on your heel side, passing to blind. So if you're going to your left, you're going to be riding and you're going to look over your right shoulder and spin around and pass the bar to your right hand. If you're going to the right, you're going to look over your left shoulder, spin around, turning your back to the kite, and pass the bar into your left hand. And passing to wrapped is, let's say you're going to the left, you would go toe side, you're riding to the left, and you would pass with your backhand. So if you're going to the left, you would pass with your right hand. And this might feel a little bit weird at first, but you really want to get in the habit of doing it both ways. So learning how to pass blind is going to be useful for any blind landing, or when you do start rotating, it's the first progression for the blind judge 3, and beyond. And as well, when you learn to ride wrapped, that's the precursor to something like a 3-1-3 and beyond. So passing from your front hand to your backhand is going to help you with backside spin tricks like the blind judge, while passing with the backhand to the front hand, it's going to train your muscle memory for front side tricks like the Raley to wrapped or the 3-1-3 and beyond. So these are both very useful, and it's good to rotate both ways. And you should practice this going to the left and to the right. So one thing that's kind of funny is you're going to find that you do have a dominant hand for passing. A lot of people will be their right hand if you're a right-hander. And for some weird reason, I was really lucky. Even though I ride regular, meaning I prefer to do tricks to my left, I found it very natural to pass with my left hand for whatever reason. And a lot of my other friends who were regular foot weren't so lucky. It was kind of an unnatural spinning progression for them. And you'll find out for yourself what feels more natural. But if you spend time doing this drill, everything's going to start feeling natural. And for the third part of this drill, we're going to cover the common mistakes. So there's really only two things that can go wrong here. One is trying to ride upwind too much, and the other is letting the bar get away from you. So what happens to a lot of people is they get in the habit when they're learning of always riding upwind, and it's very natural, and I'm sure a lot of you out there might have experienced this, but you don't want to go downwind. You want to be upwind as much as possible. And when you're doing this trick, you've got to get used to riding downwind, and you're going to lose a lot of ground. You're going to go way downwind. And the first time you try this, you're going to be surprised at just how far downwinded you go, and that's okay. That's actually part of the trick, and it's really important to learn that. So if you try to keep an edge while you're making the pass, you're actually going to be loading power into the kite. And this is where actually catching an edge might come into play because you're putting power into the kite. But as long as you're riding downwind and taking power out of the kite, you're going to be very safe, and it's a very easy trick to do. The second most common mistake is super common in unhooked tricks and wakeboarding alike, and that's just letting the bar get away from you. And once you let the bar get away from you, it's a lot harder to spin like this. And I talked about this in earlier videos where it's a bad habit to start spinning with the bar far away from you, because then you really have to muscle that kite back in if you hope to land anything. So if you can get into the habit of keeping that bar close and spinning around the bar, later on, when you do actually start spinning in the air, it's going to be so much easier because you have that muscle memory of keeping the bar close. So it's really beneficial if you learn how to do this with the bar close and just spin around the bar. And it's okay to let it get out and then pull it back in and spin, but most important here is just get in the habit of keeping that bar close. So once you get this drill dialed, you're really opening a lot of doors. And I recommend that you pair this video with our last video, the pop. So start popping off small pieces of chop and passing the bar behind your back, you know, popping to blind, popping to wrapped, and just getting used to getting a little bit of air and then landing in that blind position and try to hold it for a bit. And we'll actually cover that more in detail in our next video. So hey guys, make sure you click that eye icon and download your free PDF for your phone and check out the written blog. And as well, we have a ton more information and other content in our Kiteboarding Knowledge Center. So give that a scroll through and check out our other trick tips, gear reviews, foilboarding knowledge center, and all the other good stuff we've been working on for the last couple of years. So if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, this has been Raigo.